Okay, so get ready, everyone, because today we're diving into something truly unique.
Truly unique.
We are exploring the world of below Basilisk's elemental chaos in the Aberration of the Mountain Seventh.
Okay.
But, and this is the really interesting part, not the game itself.
Okay.
We're going deep into its operational manual.
You heard right. We're not looking at the latest tech or doing a deep dive on historical analysis. No, no, no.
Right.
This time, our source material is a game manual.
Yeah.
Though
Yeah.
calling it that.
It really does feel like an
It
understatement.
feels like an understatement, yeah.
It truly is no ordinary rule book. This is more like, and I'm not exaggerating here,
Right.
a portal into another world.
It's true.
It's packed with these fantastical lore, intriguing hints about how the game works,
Yes.
and wildly imaginative descriptions.
Almost as if the creators took all their wildest dreams and just poured them onto the page.
Speaking of wild, we have to talk about the orb. So this mysterious artifact, it kind of pops up throughout the manual, and it's described as this thing, this artifact, that contains the blueprint of all existence.
Wow.
And get this, your quest, should you choose to accept it, is to retrieve it.
Okay.
No pressure, right?
Well, about that, the manual, it doesn't really make it clear why this orb needs retrieving, but it does mention that the orb is wounded,
Wounded.
which I thought was an interesting
A
detail.
wounded blueprint.
Yeah,
That does feel significant, doesn't it?
it does.
Almost like something has disrupted the very fabric of this game universe.
Exactly. And if that doesn't raise the stakes enough,
Right.
the manual also hints at the potential consequences of misusing the orb.
Okay.
It doesn't come right out and say it, but it definitely leaves you with the impression
I think
that
I see where you're going.
reality itself could be at risk.
Okay, so we're dealing with forces beyond our comprehension. A wounded artifact that holds unimaginable power.
Right.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
Okay.
But where does this adventure even begin?
Well, our journey starts in a place called Windfall City.
Windfall City.
Windfall City.
Yeah.
Now, picture this. A city that has grown so rapidly that it essentially consumed everything around it.
Okay.
Neighboring villages, oceans, even moons.
Wait, hold on. Oceans and moons? That sounds less like urban sprawl and more like, I don't know, a cosmic horror movie.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about this game world. It takes familiar tropes and blends them with a healthy dose of the unexpected.
Right.
And Windfall City is a perfect example of that. You've got your classic fantasy characters,
Yeah.
a duchess, a princess. There's even an old man who hangs out in the local pub who I suspect is going to be a source of some cryptic wisdom.
Oh, I know that archetype well.
Yes.
So wise bartender with a twinkle in their eye,
Exactly.
who always seems to say exactly what you need to hear at just the right moment.
Precisely.
So is this old man someone we should trust?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right.
Because the manual is just full of these intriguing figures,
Yeah.
but their motivations are completely shrouded in mystery.
I see.
Take the queen, for example.
Okay.
She vanishes
Oh.
after an ogre attack,
Okay.
and the rumors surrounding her disappearance are, well, unsettling, to say the least.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Good.
It sounds like Windfall City is just the tip of the iceberg here.
Oh, you're right, it is.
What else is out there?
The game world is actually an archipelago,
Okay.
a vast network of islands, each more intriguing than the last.
Oh, wow.
You've got the Isle of Wood perpetually shrouded in this eerie fog, seemingly untouched for centuries.
Wow.
Then there's the ominously named Sword of Souls, the Cryptic Worm, and a place called the Mindbreaker.
These names, they really evoke a sense of mystery and danger, don't they?
They do, right.
Like every island holds the potential for adventure, but also something much, much worse.
Precisely. And as if navigating these islands wasn't already complicated enough,
Right.
there's another element we have to factor in: time travel.
Of course. Because what's a mind-bending adventure without a little disregard for the space-time continuum?
Exactly. The manual mentions these things called time doors
Okay.
that allow you to move through different periods of time.
Time travel.
Yes, but it's not just about hopping through history. Time travel is woven into the very fabric of the game's mechanics.
Okay, now I need some details. How does time travel actually work in this game?
Well, imagine this. Your actions in the present can actually influence the outcome of past events.
Wow.
It's as if you're constantly rewriting your own history as you play.
Okay, so it's not just about visiting different eras, it's about actively changing them.
Yeah.
That's
right.
a lot to process.
Yeah.
How is that even represented in the game mechanics?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The manual mentions a system of dice rolls
Okay.
that determine outcomes.
Right.
But these roles, they aren't just random.
Okay.
They're influenced by both your present choices and your past actions.
Oh, wow.
It's like your past selves are literally haunting your present gameplay.
So every decision has this, like, ripple effect across time. That's a pretty wild concept for a game even today.
It is, absolutely, and it gets even wilder.
Okay.
The manual suggests that this time travel mechanic isn't just limited to moving through centuries.
Okay.
It hints at the possibility of exploring different dimensions,
Oh, okay.
even parallel universes.
Okay.
We're talking about a deep dive into the multiverse here.
Okay. My head is officially spinning.
I can imagine.
Time travel, parallel universes.
Okay.
I need a moment to catch my breath.
Take your time.
But before we get too lost in the space-time continuum, can we talk about magic?
Yes, of course.
The manual mentions a pretty intricate magic system, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And it's not your typical wave a wand and chant kind of magic.
Right.
This system is rooted in ancient texts.
Okay.
And I mean ancient.
Okay.
The developers actually claimed they unearthed these texts while they were coding the game.
Hold on. Wait. They found real magic while making a video game.
That's what they suggest.
That's a pretty bold claim.
It is, and it gets even stranger.
Okay.
They use these ancient texts to create the game's spellcasting language.
Really?
They claim the code itself
Wow.
is derived from these spells, blurring the lines between the game world and our reality.
Okay, now that is just mind-blowing.
It's a lot to take in.
So we've got time travel that rewrites history, ancient magic embedded in the game's code.
Yes.
Is there anything else we need to know before we fire up this game and, accidentally unravel the fabric of reality?
You're going to need to contend with some pretty formidable foes.
Okay, bring on the baddies. What kind of creatures are we up against in this game?
You've got your classic fantasy creatures, dragons, ogres, and the like.
Right, yeah.
But the real threat seems to be these entities called the Dark Sorrows.
The Dark Sorrows.
The Dark Sorrows, led
Okay.
by
Wow.
this particularly nasty piece of work known as the Frost of the Dark Sorrows.
Just the name sends chills down my spine.
Right.
What are these Dark Sorrows? Are they just powerful monsters, or is there something more to them?
They're described as malevolent beings with unique ability. They can manipulate memories.
Oh,
So not only are you battling for the fate of the universe,
right.
but these creatures are messing with your very perception of reality.
So it's like psychological warfare
It's like psychological warfare
on a cosmic scale.
on a cosmic scale, exactly.
Are there any stories about these Dark Sorrows that stood out to you?
There is one chilling tale about the Frost of the Dark Sorrow that really caught my eye.
Okay.
It describes a confrontation between the Frost and, well, a city.
Wait, a whole city, as in
Yeah.
like a living, breathing metropolis?
You heard right.
Wow.
The Frost laid waste to this unnamed city, leaving it in ruins. But the city's queen,
Right.
in a desperate act of self-sacrifice,
Okay.
merged with the very heart of her city.
Oh, wow.
And then, shockingly, with the Frost itself.
So we're talking about a being of unimaginable power, a
Yes.
fusion of good and evil, light and darkness.
Oh, it's intense.
This is some seriously heavy stuff.
It is, and it raises some interesting questions about the nature of these entities.
Right.
Are they purely malevolent?
Right.
Or is there some, I don't know, a tragic element to their existence?
Right.
Could they be driven by motivations we can't even comprehend?
This game just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
It really does.
It's clearly not just about slaying monsters and collecting loot.
No, not at all.
This is about exploring some really big ideas.
Yes.
The nature of reality, the
Yeah.
consequences of our actions.
Yes.
The very meaning of existence.
Precisely. And it does so in a way that's playful,
Right.
even absurd at times,
Right.
but ultimately deeply thought-provoking.
This brings me back to something you mentioned earlier.
Oh, hey.
The idea of a holographic universe.
Right.
Can you unpack that a bit more for me? I'm not sure I fully grasped the concept.
It's a mind-bending idea,
It really is.
but in essence, it suggests that our reality,
Yeah.
and the game world for that matter,
Okay.
might be projections of a higher dimensional reality.
So, like, everything we see and experience is just a really detailed hologram.
Essentially.
That's a lot to take in.
It is. It is.
Okay, so I'm trying to get this straight.
Okay.
So you're saying
Yeah.
our reality is basically a cosmic movie projected onto a giant screen we can't see.
That's one way to think about it. A
Sure.
simplified way, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
And what's even more mind-blowing is that the manual suggests that this holographic universe concept isn't just a theoretical possibility.
Okay.
They claim to have incorporated this concept into the game itself.
Wait, so they're saying the game world is literally a hologram. How is that even possible?
That's where the magic disc comes in.
The magic disc.
The magic disc.
Okay.
It's not included in the game box, but the manual hints at its existence.
Okay.
They describe it as a piece of advanced technology that allows them to simulate a universe-scale hologram, expanding the game world to an unimaginable degree.
A magic disc that unlocks a holographic universe. These game developers sound like they were reading a bit too much science fiction.
Maybe.
But even if we set aside the more outlandish claims,
Right.
the ideas they're grappling with are incredibly thought-provoking.
They really are. And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what if they were onto something?
Right.
What if our reality is more fluid and stranger than we ever imagined?
Those are some seriously big questions.
Yeah.
Questions that have plagued philosophers and scientists for centuries.
There's centuries, and maybe,
Yeah.
just maybe,
Yeah.
this game and its bizarre manual hold a piece of the puzzle.
You know, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. But
Right.
before we completely lose ourselves in this vortex of existential questions, I think we should take a closer look at the actual gameplay.
Okay.
After all, what good is a game, even one as conceptually rich as this,
Right.
if it's not fun to play? So we've explored the lore, the philosophical implications, the mind-bending concepts.
We really have.
Yeah. How do you actually play this game?
Well, get ready for something truly unique.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the manual's, almost obsessive attention to detail about dice?
Oh, absolutely. Different types, hundreds of sides.
Yes.
It seemed a little excessive even for a game manual.
Right. Well, it turns out those dice aren't just there for show.
Okay.
They're not just for combat or skill checks like in a lot of games.
Right.
They're woven into the very fabric of the game world.
Okay. I'm intrigued. How so?
From what I gather, those dice rolls influence everything from character interactions
Well,
to the flow of time itself.
really?
Imagine, even a seemingly simple conversation
Okay.
could be affected by a roll of a multi-sided die.
So it's like every action, every choice has this element of chance built into it,
Right.
but a chance that's influenced by your past actions.
Yes. It's almost as if the game
Now,
is responding to you,
okay.
to your individual journey.
So it makes you think about, like, the nature of free will, right, within this game world.
Are you truly in control?
Right.
Or are you at the mercy of fate as determined by the roll of the dice?
It's a question that has haunted philosophers for centuries.
Right. And speaking of physical manifestations,
Yes.
the manual also mentions these strange diagrams and symbols that players are supposed to use.
Yes. They almost resemble an ancient grimoire.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just looking at them.
Okay.
The manual suggests that players should physically act out certain actions,
Nearly.
blurring the lines between the game world and the real world.
So it's not just a game you play in your head or on a screen, but one that spills out into your physical space.
It seems so. It's like the creators wanted to create this immersive,
Wow.
almost ritualistic experience for the players.
And as if the dice and rituals weren't enough,
Right.
there's more.
Yes.
Didn't the manual mention something about specific music?
You have a good memory.
Yes.
They suggest a curated soundtrack,
Okay.
and not just any music. They recommend everything from classical compositions to what they call a time capsule of sounds intended for extraterrestrials.
Okay, that's officially the most bizarre soundtrack I've ever heard of. But it makes me think about those ancient texts the developers supposedly found.
Right.
It's almost as if they approached creating this game
Yes.
with the same reverence one might approach an ancient ritual.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
It's like they saw themselves not just as game developers, but as curators
Right.
of some ancient knowledge, using the game as a vessel to share it with the world.
So we've got this intricate blend of chance, physicality, and sensory immersion, all in service of this grand cosmic narrative.
Yes.
It sounds like an experience unlike anything else.
Absolutely. And remember,
Yeah.
this is the late 1980s.
Right.
The technology available to game developers back then was primitive
Oh, yeah.
compared to what we have now.
It makes you wonder what they could have accomplished with today's technology.
Right.
Right.
Imagine experiencing this game world through a VR headset.
Yeah. Complete with haptic feedback, spatial audio,
Wow.
and maybe even some motion controls to capture those physical actions.
It'd be incredible.
It's mind-blowing to even think about this game,
I know.
even as a concept.
Yeah,
pushes the boundaries of what we think of as gaming.
it really does.
It becomes an experience that transcends entertainment. It becomes a journey of self-discovery,
Yes.
a philosophical exploration, maybe even a spiritual one.
Might be all of those things.
You know, for a deep dive that started with a game manual,
Right.
we've stumbled into some profound territory.
You have.
The nature of reality, the power of storytelling,
It's true.
the very essence of what it means to play a game.
That's the beauty of these deep dives, isn't it?
It is.
You never know where they'll lead.
That's right.
We started with this fictional game world,
Yeah.
and somehow we ended up questioning our own reality.
And that, I think, is a perfect place to leave our listeners today.
It is.
With a sense of wonder, a thirst for knowledge, and maybe a few more questions than answers.
Always more questions than answers.
If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep exploring. Dust off those old game manuals, revisit your favorite fantasy worlds, and never stop asking questions. Who knows what hidden truths you might uncover. Until next time, happy exploring.